An integrated amplifier that I want to talk about today is the Atoll IN 300, standing here to my left. Now, if I have to summarize the sound characteristics with one sentence and giving it two attributes, I would call it is a quite talented all-rounder with a pretty lively presentation. The top plate is even a bit thicker than many other amplifiers that I have seen, even more expensive amplifiers. Sometimes these top plates come quite thin. This one, for me, is okay. The unit is in standby right now, so there is a switch. There's a power switch at the back to completely turn the unit off. The little dot here indicates standby. The knob on the left side here can be used to turn the unit on. It does so with a reassuring click. The unit has 5 line-in RCA inputs. They have different names. Let's start with the RCA inputs. They start with the name of aux, and then there's a CD, tuner, DVD, and tape. But they're all line-in inputs with RCA cables. There is no phono input. And if you want to use an XLR cable, there's also one XLR input that can be used at the back. As mentioned in my intro, this unit has an integrated DAC module. It's a DAC module 200, which comes with a Bluetooth chip. And if I'm not wrong, the next click actually is, yes, the Bluetooth chip. To be honest, I have never tried it. I cannot comment on it. I never streamed music from my smartphone using this Bluetooth chip, but the next clicks are inputs that I have used. There's 2 coaxial inputs, and then there is 2 Toslink optical inputs that can be used. And if you want to integrate this unit into your home cinema, there is also a bypass function. And as you may have seen, I've just stepped over the USB input. So there's also a USB connection if you want to hook up your laptop, your computer, or other digital devices with a USB output. So that is the inputs of this device. We go back to the line in. The knob feel is very, very nice. I like it. Every turn comes with a little reassuring click here. The right knob serves as a volume control. All right, overall, the build quality of this device is, I think, very pleasing. I like it very much. I like the matte black color. And if you are a headphone user, to the left side, you can see here, there is a headphone jack. We also have a remote control for the Atoll IN 300. This remote control seems to be a rather generic one, because looking at it, you realize only the lower half of these buttons serve functions for the integrated amplifier. I only have the IN 300, so I only used the bottom part of all these buttons, and all of the other buttons, of course, were quite a bit obsolete. The remote control is made out of plastic. The material is okay. It serves the function. And an interesting observation was the following. I also own a Linn device, a Linn Selekt streamer. Let me put the 2 remote controls side by side. You may realize the design and the build is actually quite similar. Turning both of them around emphasizes the point even a bit more. Well, interesting. It is 44 centimeters wide, 37 centimeters deep, approximately 10 centimeters high, and it weighs 16 kilograms. 16 kilograms is a nice weight for me, at least for me. I don't have to worry about breaking my back when I lift it around or I put it on my rack or inside of my rack. I like 16 kilograms. It is actually a dual mono design, and it comes with 2 toroidal transformers built in, and it is a powerful amplifier. It delivers 2 times 150 watts into 8 ohm and 2 times 260 watts into 4 ohms. That is powerful. That is serious power, and you can hear that. To my opinion, I can always hear it in the music when I play music with powerful amplifiers. Powerful amplifiers simply control the speakers quite a bit better than amplifiers with less power, and you can particularly hear that in dynamic sections of music. If the music gets, if there's a quiet moment and then all of a sudden you get these explosive sounds in the music, powerful amplifiers control the membranes quite a bit better, and you can hear that. You can hear that also with the Atoll IN 300. It does This takes me straight to the sound quality of this unit, to my perceived sound quality of this unit here in my room and to my ears. It is always a subjective opinion that you will always hear from any reviewer. Now, I said in the beginning that I believe this unit presents music in a very lively way, and I stick to that. The music always had a certain pep, whichever genre I played, and I listened to a huge variety of different genres. The highs of the Atoll IN 300 were detailed, and they had this sparkle, but they were never fatiguing, they were never tiring, they were never ear piercing. I was able to listen to music for hours going on, and I didn't get tired. The mids of the Atoll IN 300 had, at least for me here in my room, it always had a certain presence, and I enjoy that. For example, listening to female singers, as we just did, I really had the feeling they're in here in the room, and the presence of this voice, the body of the voice, was just there. It was very enjoyable to my ears. The bass of the unit, I think, is a very important factor, and it was quite particular as well. It has very good extension. This unit does deliver bass, and the bass is controlled, but it's not too controlled. It doesn't give you this numb feeling that some amplifiers may actually give you when the bass is too tight and it's too controlled. There is a certain flow in the bass. Some music needs this flow to be exciting. For this video, I have actually decided to also include some sound samples. Now, to be honest, I have no idea how they are going to come across. I can tell you I have recorded the music with mobile phones, with smartphones. I used 2 different ones. I used an old iPhone 13, and I also used an old Android phone, an LG V50. And some of you may remember that the LG series, the V30, the V50, those were the audiophile digital players at the time. Still very sorry that LG does not produce any phones like this anymore, but I still have one. I have the LG V50, and I used it to record some sound. The audio unit that gets implemented in my living room always has to serve 2 purposes, because I love watching movies and I love watching series, and I want to use my audio system to do so. So one of the most important factors for watching movies is the speech recognition, or what I call speech recognition. What I mean with this is how easy can you understand the dialogues? How easy can you follow conversations that are happening in the movie? if this is presented in a way so that you can understand everything quite easy, your brain doesn't have to work very hard. Whereas on the other side, if the human voice is presented, for example, with too much bass and a bit of uncontrolled bass, and then you will have trouble understanding the dialogue, and then it gets tiring because your brain has to work to actually understand the dialogue, to understand the conversation. The Atoll IN300 did a very good job for watching movies and series, and it was very easy to use, and that brings me to the next topic. I want to talk about the internal DAC of the Atoll IN300, because for watching movies, I used the internal DAC, and I connected my TV with an optical cable, with a Toslink cable, into one of the optical inputs, and that worked fine. I also tried the internal DAC of the Atoll IN300 with the streamers that I have at hand here. I have two different streamers here, and I connected them digitally with a coax cable to the Atoll IN300. And I have to say, I think Atoll did a pretty good job in harmonizing the sound characteristics of the DAC with the sound characteristics of the amplifier. The DAC chip used is a AKM, a AK4490 EQ. I always liked the AKM chips. I'm fully aware of the fact that the sound quality of this digital analog conversion does not only depend on the chip, it depends on the whole way it is implemented on the output stages, on the op amps, on whatever components are in there, and the way the manufacturing company has decided to implement that digital analog conversion board. The Atoll IN300, I think the implementation is successful. How does the Atoll IN300 compare to other integrated amplifiers? Approximately in the same price range. Now, this unit here is my own unit. I've owned this unit now for approximately 2 years, and I want to compare it to two other integrated amplifiers that I have also owned. They're sold now, I don't own them anymore, but I've also owned them in the same time period, meaning in the last 2 years, and that is for once the Technics SU-G700, and the other partner is the Hegel 190. All three of these amplifiers cost approximately the same amount of money. And if I compare the sound characteristics, let's start with the Technics. The Technics has a very different design philosophy and build philosophy, because it is a purely digital amplifier, and only at the latest stage, at the output stage, the digital signal is converted to an analog signal. The presentation of music with the Technics SU-G700 was maybe a little bit more delicate, and it also maybe had a little bit more precision also in the timing of the rhythms. However, the Atoll had more body and volume in the music. The Technics SU-G700 also had quite a bit less bass compared to the Atoll. And mentioning the bass control is maybe the best word for leading over to the comparison to the Hegel 190, because that is the stronghold of the Hegel 190, in my opinion. The Hegel 190 controlled bass very, very well. The definition and the timing of bass was very enjoyable with the Hegel 190. Compared to the Atoll had overall maybe a little bit more of a lively presentation, a little bit more of pep in the music. But I want to make it really, really clear. All three of these amplifiers, the Atoll IN300, the Technics SU-G700, and also the Hegel 190, all three of them were very enjoyable to my ears here in my room with all of the genres of music that I listen to. So I won't make the claim that any one of them was the outstanding unit and blowing the other one out of the water. That's not the case. And everything that I have mentioned about the sound characteristics is, of course, my personal opinion, my personal feelings about the way how I perceived music and also watching movies here in my room with my ears, with the setup that I have available. So who can I recommend the Atoll IN300 to? Difficult question, because I don't know what kind of music you like, and I don't know your room, I don't know your speakers. But generally said, if you like a full-bodied, kind of warm, maybe a little bit dark presentation with a good amount of bass, and you do find matching speakers, I think the Atoll IN300 is a unit that you will find enjoyable. And I listen to music mostly via streaming services nowadays, to be very honest. And I would like to come back to the internal DAC of the Atoll IN300 for that purpose. Because if you also listen to music primarily via streaming services, and the internal DAC of the Atoll IN300, I believe they did a very good job in harmonizing the sound characteristics of the DAC and the power amplifier built inside. And basically you only need a streaming transport, and you may actually have a very well sounding combination there. You won't need anything anymore. However, on the other side, if you're one of the audiophiles who owns a streamer, a CD player, a record player with a phono pre-stage, maybe even a reel-to-reel player, and you also want to connect your TV to the sound system, like I do, one of these units has an XLR connection, well, the Atoll IN300 actually has enough inputs to serve all of these units as well. As I said in the beginning, I believe it is a pretty talented all-rounder. The next topic I want to touch on is speaker matching. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have a system with components that are matching. It is much more important to have a chain with components that match to each other. And there's no other way than trying it out. It is more important than having one unit with a huge price tag. It's hardly ever the solution to actually have very good sound quality in your room. I've used, for the Atoll IN300 here, pairing with the Sonus Faber Olympica Nova 2. You see them behind me. And for me, this matching was very enjoyable to my ears here in my room. The dark and warm and full character of the Atoll IN300 found a good partner in the Sonus Faber Olympica Nova 2, because they also lean towards warm, full, and a little bit of a darker sound. So this match, enjoyable to me. Can I say which other speakers are likely to match with the Atoll IN300? No, not really. It would be guessing, because basically you simply have to try if you like it. But I believe the Atoll has a lot of power and can handle dynamic properties of music quite well. So I would look for speakers with maybe a good dynamic quality. But it's just guessing, to be honest. You have to try. No other way. So can I make the statement that you will love the sound characteristics of the IN300? No, I cannot. Of course I cannot. But I can make the following statement. I think it's worth the shot.